Okay, I've got the sound. Now, here's what I'm going to do, and I want to show you this real quickly so we're all on board. As you recall, I did a post uh, um, for Thursday night, the 22nd, and that was one that I recorded for you because we were out of class, and then I also had some other things I posted there that I wanted you to see that was part of class time, and we'll go to that. Here it is. Here's the recording for Thursday the 22nd. And then I had these three from the geospatial revolution, which talks about that, how we've done the use of mapping and the use of layers on mapping has really changed how we do business and has also some impacts in some areas, for example, like disaster recovery. And so I've got the geospatial revolution. This is from Penn State. And then episode 2, chapter 2. This is for episode 2. And then episode 2, chapter 3. And then here, of course, is an invitation. But I wanted to make sure, all right, that we did indeed have 150 minutes of instruction. We were a little bit short here, but I also want to make sure, certain that we stayed on track. So I want to show you here over on the syllabus, okay, what's going on. And you recall, because of the bad weather, I moved assignments back to the 26th of March, okay, and that they would be due by the 26th of March, which is Monday. And Access Workshops 1, 2, 3, and 4 you should have uploaded, and these are exams, okay. And I'm also going to go ahead and do a screencast on these. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I will probably, these 4 assignments should be uploaded. But I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and let's see, these were due last Thursday. And of course, we didn't have anything. So when we've got these assignments that are coming up Thursday, the 1st of March. Now, lunches 1 and 2, lunches database 1 and lunches database 2. All right, we have done them, so they should be uploaded. And then these are quizzes, okay, that you should have done. So here's what I'm going to do today, just so you're on top of things. I'm gonna do lunches database 3 today, okay, and I will probably move the exams. Now, these you should have uploaded already. We've covered them. The exams, I'm going to move those back probably to Wednesday, that they would be due Wednesday. And then today I'm going to cover lunches database 3, all right, so that we're on track. All right. Now, that will take care of the issues regarding weather. Okay, so here's the deal. These 3 assignments, Access Workshops 1, 2, 3, and 4, we've already done them, so you should have uploaded them. Then these exam number 2 and exam number 3, I'm going to move those to Wednesday the 28th, excuse me. And then we'll be back in sync because we have done, we all have done lunches database 1 and 2 and then 3, okay? And if you see the screen recordings, you'll know. Let me go over to the files for a minute. All right, and so that's what's going to be going on. So I'm going to go back here for a moment. All right, And you're going to see uh, some files I've uploaded. You're probably going to, you should see and should find lunches DB 1 and 2, okay, that I've put up here. And I'll find it down here. Or I thought I did, because I had saved them. What I'd done was I had downloaded those files. So I'm looking for them right here. So let's see. I'm looking for the files that I had done in the screenshots, screencast, and hit uploaded. That's what I'm doing right here. So I apologize about this. I should have been. Okay, here they are. All right. Yeah. Okay. This is Lunches Database 1. Okay, and you'll want to upload that for Lunches Database 1 if you haven't already. And then here would be Lunches Database 2, and you should have uploaded it if you have not already. So now I'm going to work on Lunches Database 3, okay? Now, again, let's go over to the Patrick materials, and just so we stay familiar with what's going on, here's the Patrick materials. I'm going to download them. Right, and I'm probably going to just throw them out on my desk, but I don't need to do that. I've got that down there, and there's DB1, DB2. I'm going to take SQL Fun, and I'm going to move it to my desktop. Okay, it'll be on there, and I'm going to rename it SQL Fun 2007 Harmon. I'm just giving you a model to work with. LD3 Lunches Database 3. Okay. In fact, I'll just to make these all consistent, I'm going to rename this to Harmon. Okay, and so we're going to work on Lunches Database 3 now. Where we spent some time, okay, on the issue of data warehouses and data marts or data warehouses, as well as databases, so that you would feel comfortable in seeing. I've got the SQL 7 now. I'm going to open it back up, right? And I'm going to save it. Okay, on my desktop. All right. Now, what you could be doing right now is you could simply load the SQL Fun, a fresh copy of it down, and then do the queries for number 3. Okay. You could do the queries for all 3 of these Lunches databases on that SQL Fun database, because you have all the tables that you need. Okay, all you're going to be doing is queries on those tables. However, I really prefer that you have that in discrete, like Lunches Database 1, 2, and then Lunches Database 3, and it's open. it, uploaded in their appropriate bin. Okay, so we're going to take a look at Lunches Database 3. Now, let me say this: you at the end of the course are going to have what's called Check Your Understanding uh, exercises, and that will be where they'll give you a problem and say you do this and get this type of information, and then it's up to you to develop the query and run it. Okay, so yeah, paying attention here is helpful. The other thing is we're going to just walk through, as I've mentioned before. This is a very progressive process. Okay, and the and the bottom line is, all right, that you're going to be running the queries. So let's go in here for a moment, and we'll open up the zip file that has the code, and we're going to find the code for chapter 3. All right, and I'm going to open that up, and that's the code that I'm going to be using for chapter 3 for the now. Chapter 3, as I've said to you before, as we start to work through these Lunches databases, we're learning and we're building queries. They're getting progressively more complex. Okay, and then we'll be at the point where we'll be tying tables together and all kinds of things. But for now, we're really focusing on just building queries. And chapter 3 in the Patrick text starts over on 83, and it gives you a nice, he gives you a nice overview there in chapter, for chapter 3. Now, if you look over on the next page, which would be page 84, is all of the elements or main sections of chapter 3. And we're going to see they talk about compound conditions, constant values, punctuations, case sensitivity, 3-valued logic, and some of the error messages. I'm going to hit a smattering of that stuff where I think that it's important for you to be aboard on. Now, in addition, okay, you need to have your textbook open, and you need to be looking as we go through this. And what I recommend you do is you just listen to this, and then you go back and try to do it. Okay, make sure you upload the final product so you get credit, but I'd like you to try to do this anyway. All right, and at a certain level, we're not talking about anything complex. So let's start off with 3.1, okay? And let's talk about it for a moment. Here we're going to select, these fields: employee ID, first name, last name, manager ID, from the employees table, and then we're going to exclude anybody whose manager ID is 203. That's the where not clause. Okay, now we make it a compound clause by adding in this last line of code, which says, or manager ID is null. And as you perhaps suspect, when I say the queries get more complex, we're going to see that they get more complex in terms of the uses of clauses and the uses of tables, or even queries or views that we create. So I'm gonna copy this, all right, and I'm going to go into the open database, and I'm going to click create query design. And by the way, I'm going to have these first 3 Lunches databases done, okay, and I have them in there, and I'll upload this one that I'm working on, all right. And then on next Thursday night when we meet, okay, we'll start to work on Lunches database 4, okay, and so we'll be ahead, all right, and that way we'll be in good shape. All right. Well, I'm gonna click close. I'm putting in the SQL, and I'm gonna run it. And here we get the employer ID, first name, last name, manager ID. And we've excluded those people whose manager ID is, you know, is 203. Now, before we go too much further with this, I want to alert you, and as we go along, it's probably going to be bad to have your book open, and then take some notes as we go along, because on page 85, okay, gives us an explanation of the where clause, okay, and where we use the definition of and, okay, which is Boolean and, typically we call an intersection, okay, because both are true. Now they match up on that. And then or is what Boolean language typically is a union, because we'll take A or B is true when either A or B is true. So that means we're going to get anything from both. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the same. Remember, an intersection differs from a union. And then they use the not. Okay, that's there on page 83. Pardon me, 85. Excuse me. Now here we are in 3.1, and at the bottom page 86, they walk you through the Oracle and Access SQL. Okay, and then of course you see the author's note, and at the top of page 87, you can see the beginning table. Okay, and then you can see the result table, and you can see that we have two people in here whose manager who have a manager whose ID is 203, but they've excluded them. Okay, and now we can also go down to the design view and see this. It does not equal 203 or is null. Okay, so I'm going to save this query. All right, and I'm going to save this as 3-1. Let's see if it'll let me save it as that. Oh, it did. So we've done 3-1, which is over on page 87. Okay. Now I'm going to clear this off. All right, and let's go on over and take a look at section 3-2, which is starts over on page 88. Now, and they have a 3-2. Okay, and they give us two versions. And I want you to if you take a look, and I'm just going to open this up for a minute. And there are going to be some times here, well, I may not even read the code, rather I may just explain it, okay? But, it's fine for you. This is in this first variation, we use the not condition, okay? And we see the beginning table, okay? And then at the bottom, we're going to see the result table, okay? Now, this 3.2 version 1, okay? The author on page 89 has colored in or has darkened where we're using the not. So it's not in, or it's not between, or it's not like, and then not null. Okay. We get the same set of results if we do, and this is version 2 is using a Boolean not. Okay, at the top version 1, we use not within the condition. Here we're using a Boolean not, a pure one. Because and you say, what do you mean by within the condition? Notice this, where department code not in, and then and not, and not, and not. All right. So we have, I guess you could say they're nested knots, if you will, not, but they're within that. Now here, okay, on version 2, we use the Boolean not, okay, and notice we use and not, and not, and not. And notice that the qualifier, okay, like, you know, is null, and these are used with this. This is a pure Boolean because it's embedded within each parenthesis, and that's why that's why they show up that like that. Okay. Now he also says this is an Oracle and Access versions there. I'm using the well, we're going to do 3.2 version 1 because we'll get the same result depending on how we attack it. So we've got that. Okay. And I'm going to click create and then come to query design. And there we are. And that's going to be, I'm going to save that as 3-2 variation 1. Okay. Now we can do the second version. Okay. And again, that's there in page 89 and it's here. And notice the difference in these two versions. Okay. Notice the placement that we use is not like, between, whereas right here it's just a straight where it's not meeting this condition. And so it's a subtle difference, but it's an important one. But you get 3.2 with both versions. Okay, we're going to come over here to page 90, and this is over. Page 90 is the standard form of a complex condition in the where clause. Okay, and you'll see that Oracle and Access code right there. Okay, and what you're going to see is they're going to use this query. As I said before, these queries get a little more complex. Okay, and at the top of page 91, he says it does run, but it's not intended to make much sense. What the authors want to show us is that I can link up several of these to make it very, very complex if it's necessary for me to do that. And so I'm getting everything here, or everything here, or everything here, or everything here. Try to string that out a bit. You can see. And this has, you know, it's just stringing several of these along. And notice the parentheses are balanced out. So I want to let you see that, but because I'm not sure it's, you know, well, okay. We want first name to be Susan and credit limit equals $30. Okay. or the credit limit is between, the hire date is null and the credit limit is between $10 and $50, and the last name is, you'll find it like Smith, Jacobs, or Patrick. Okay. And but it will not be in the shipping department, the SHP. Okay. And then we come down over the credit limit, is greater than $22 and the hire date is null. And the employee ID is greater than 700. And the department code is salary, marketing, and manager ID is 400. Okay. And that's the result set that we get. We get Susan Brown and Paula Jones. Now you say, all right, I can see where we got Susan. Okay, I'm talking about ID 3. I'm talking about 3.3. It's page on 91. And as you look down there, you can see, yeah, I get it. I understand. Okay, how I get Susan. Okay, and then how did I end up with Paula Jacobs? And the authors don't give us too much of an explanation on it. Okay, now, but you'll find those on the notes. Okay, and you end up with Paula, okay, who meets that one of those criteria, one or more of them. And let's look up there at Paula Jacobs. Okay, Paula Jacobs has a credit limit, okay, of $15, and so in that sense, she fits right in here. Okay, she doesn't qualify on the basis of her last name. Okay, and she's not in shipping. And does she have an employee ID greater than 700? No. Do we have a hire date for her? We have a hire date. And we do have her credit limit, but her credit limit is greater than $22. So we picked her up here between $10 and $15. She's not in shipping. Okay. And we're looking for a hire date for her. And she has a hire date. So she satisfies the condition that the hire date is not null. And then we look for a manager ID. And we get that. Now, the authors give you, okay, a nice explanation back over on page 92. The whole point of it being that they want us to make sure that we've thought through the logic of what we want. All right. And you say, well, okay, on 3.2 version 3, how did we pick up Paula? Let's look at this. First of all, Paula is not in accounting or marketing. Okay. Let's do Jacobs, and that would be Susan. Let's do Paula Jacobs first. Pardon me. Let's do. I'm down here on 3.2. Let's do the EB. Well, we picked up Susan. Okay. Okay, and we picked up Susan on the basis of a first name, excuse me. And then we picked up Paula Jacobs on the basis of her last name. Okay, and then we had these other conditions in terms of apartment code, hire date, credit limit. And so we kind of cast a net, just really, we end up with those two names. And that's the output that we get. It's the same result as we get with version 2. But let's just go ahead and run it. 3.2 version 1, excuse me. Okay. Control C. And we're going to create query design. And you'll notice this is going to be 3.3. And we get the same individuals. The whole point of showing you this is that there are, because we have these dimensions, okay, hire date, credit limit, first name, last name, and employee ID, manager ID, phone number, birth date, apartment, hire date. We've got each of these different dimensions. And when we're stringing together the or, okay, it's going to fall on our net. And we picked up Jacobs, Susan, because the first name was Susan, and there's only one Susan there. We picked up Paula because Paula's last name is Jacobs. And neither of them would have a manager ID greater than 400. So you satisfied two of you satisfy a condition, you move on. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Just so you can see, it will give us output. It may not make any sense, but it does. So we'll close those off. Well, we can work on it. So we're going to go over, and we're here in chapter 3. And I want to take a minute or so just to talk about 3.4. And they show some of the common mistakes that people make. And that is when you have the parentheses missing, using a where clause. Now notice 3.4 doesn't work, but 3 at the bottom of page 93, they give you code, okay, that gives you the correct results, but they talk about the fact that people don't understand what people expect to get versus what their computer produces. And there in the middle of page 94, they show you how the computer views this, how it handles everything. Okay? So it does its work a little differently than you or I. And you can see the missing parentheses there in the middle of page 93. Okay, and then you go to the bottom of page 93, you see how people misunderstand what's going on, even though it gives you the correct results set. And then they show you how the computer understands the code. It's important that you see that the computer processes the SQL differently than you and I think, but it comes up with the same result. Okay, and the reason being is it starts its search. It starts its search according to indexing. In other words, the most likely place it's going to find an answer. And it looks for that rather than just trying to go row by row by row. Okay, and you still end up with that result set. Okay, so 3, 4, and let's look at the code for it. Okay, and we'll find that code. All right, and we'll go down here to and we'll run the code, and we'll run this. This is 3, 4, and we're going to click Create, Query Design. All right, now, if you go over and you take a look at the top of page 90, and then near the bottom of page 94, you're going to see these people here. Okay? And this is what we expect from the code. Okay? And then they show us at the bottom how the machine understands the code. Okay, so we're going to call this 3, 4. Okay, let's move on over, and we're going to talk about constant values or constants. And they show you there on page 96 a beautiful diagram showing the beginning table, then literals that we put in the select clause, and then we get the result table. And so let's go back over here to the code, and we'll look at 3, 5, all right? And we'll say, what's the literal? And the literal here is excellent worker. Now, I've got a hunch you're going to have some problems with the date there, but maybe not. Let's see what happens. So this will be 3, 5. Okay, and I'm going to click Create, Query Design, the usual steps I go through. And I'm going to run it. Now the literal comes through, okay? And the evaluation date comes through. Now I have some choices, and I'm going to show you what this is. I can save this query, all right? And I can save it with a descriptive name. You say, what do you mean? Well, on the query name, for example, I could put rated excellent worker January 1, 2011. I could give a name for this thing that telegraphs it what's in here. Okay, I'm gonna click so we don't have to look at all that additional stuff. Now I'll show you I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to enter the design view, and now by clicking these, okay, I'm hiding them. We'll go back up, and you see, and then, all right, I can telegraph, or if I want to just make sure, I don't want to look at the tens, all those tens, and so if I want to just make it pretty, I go in and I name the query something that makes more sense, something that lets me prevent generating all of those, repeating all that excellent worker. Well, I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to click save. Well, I've got it saved. All right. And I can close this, then copy and paste it and use the new name. So I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to go down and find it. And there's 3.5. And I'm going to do copy and then paste. And instead of that, I'm going to call it employees underscore rated underscore 10. All right. Now, I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to come into the design view. I'm going to suppress this column, this one, and this one. I'll show the data set. And I'm going to save this. Now this shows, now I use the query title to telegraph that they were rated 10 and therefore excellent. Okay. So that's one of the little shortcuts that we'll take. So we've done 3.5 as well as this one. And so we'll close these. Now, again, excellent worker. Okay. And then we had as evaluation date. And then put null as evaluation date. And there we see the result table, but much cleaner without all of the gunk in there. Now, they're going to talk about using a table of constants. All right. And this, we have a beginning table, then we go over to the table of constants and we get a result table. Okay. And the 3.6, all right. And we're going to take a stab at that. I made some notes here. Okay. And this is one that's we're just going to work through it. So I'm going to come over here to 3.6. And watch what happens. I'm going to click query design, then we'll talk about it. Now I'm going to run the query. Okay. And there we have the next evaluation is null. Okay. All right. And there we be. So this looks just exactly like the beginning table. And it is. Okay. And it goes over to the constants table, and that's SEC 0306, the constants table. Let's go over here and I'll show you. I'm going to call this, say this is 3.6. And we'll show you where the constants came in. And so we'll go back up here. And it's SEC 03, section 0306 is the name. And it's a table of constants to open up. Okay. And we got that from employees and the section 306 constants. So we'll close that. Now I'm going to go into design view. Let's take a look at this for just a minute. And you're going to see here we use the table of constants. And here that has the hard coded in. And here we have the employees table. And the whole point of the constants table is to avoid having to do hard coding literals. And there's type in literals. Okay? So we just pull it from there. You could have a table of constants of like city, state, zip code, well, any dimensions that make some sense and are tied, you can do. And so this is really a pure constants table, and that we just simply plug it in. Now we're going to move over to through page 102, 103, and to the top of 104. They talk about the use of punctuation, the use of single quotes, the use of pound signs. My experience with the Axis is that I'm going to have the best luck if it's a date. I'm going to have the best luck with the pound sign. Okay, and that otherwise quotes work just fine, and they talk about that. Then they get over to top of page 104, and they talk about semicolons and then reserved words. Okay. Now, if you come down to the bottom of 104, you're going to see where they use double quotes and where they use single quotes. And you'll get the same result. And over the top page 105 is the beginning table. So we're going to close this off, but we don't have to. Let's click Create, Query Design. All right, and we'll go to the SQL view, and we'll come in and get our code. And they have two variations, one of them using double quotes, the other using single quotes. So we're going to do variation 1. We'll run it. Okay, and then we get the supplier name. Okay, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to save it as 3-7 variation 1. And then I'm going to do variation 2. We'll click Create. Query Design. Close. We'll go back up to the SQL. And we'll put in the SQL for single quotes. All right. And they're just covering something in terms of punctuation. And we'll run it. And we get the same thing. So we'll call this, we're going to save it as 3-7 variation 2. Now, you say, why do you keep showing us all these variations? So that you can understand, that there are going to be some times when you've got a couple of ways you can go. For example, if you look at the bottom of page 104, you have the supplier name like, okay? Anybody who has an apostrophe. So where supplier name is like, double quote, asterisk, which is a wild card, okay? Then, all right, the apostrophe, and then another, I should just show you up here, the double quote, the asterisk, which means wild card, and then the apostrophe, and then another asterisk, a wild card, and then the double quote, and then the supplier name like, okay, and then we order it by supplier name. Then you can see we use double quotes, and we come down and we use single quotes, and they both work. However, let me say this, and I will go back and reiterate. Back on page 103, they talk about using dates, all right? And they say, don't use quotes around numbers, okay? Now, you say, but if I'm in the middle of page 103 and it says, okay, but 01-Jan-203 is in, it is a number because it sees a number. And so you're going to put it, you're going to put the, you're going to put the pound sign. I always find it's best to use the pound sign around dates because the machine recognizes them in dates, recognizes dates as numbers, okay, because the machine has a counter. But when you put the pound sign in front, the machine says, okay, yeah, it's a number, but I'm going to put it out here, in a string with characters and numbers so the human being can understand. And that's what's going on there. Okay. Now you notice as we come down here, we skip all the way over to 313. And there's a reason, and that is because they walk you through all of this business, okay, of punctuation, double quotes, handles spaces and names, okay? And notice if you look at page 104, when I have spaces and names, I use brackets, okay? And they walk you through the Oracle SQL and the SQL methods, but he doesn't have this stuff in there, and so we're just going to take a look at it. I'm not going to have you cut and paste it. Same thing with using vertical bars, okay? Then case sensitivity, and that covers case sensitivity in Oracle. And I'm over here, and then and then case sensitivity and access. All right, and as you can see, it as the authors tell us, it uses case sensitivity differently in Access than in Oracle. All right. And 313 is instructive because it's going to show us, well, if you look at page 119, you're going to see the beginning table where we have, it's a case sensitivity table. It's one of those table of constants where we have the row ID, the name, first name, and the second name. We have John, okay, all uncapitalized in both. Then we have John with the first letter capitalized. Then we have John in all caps. And then we have John in name 1 in all lowercase, and John all caps. Okay, so you can see there are many variations of this. The whole point about case sensitivity is because if you're dealing with strings, all right, you want to make sure you can get them and pull those strings out. So they show you the result set there, okay, for access. And just simply say where name 1 equals name 2 ordered by row. And they give, and the result set is John, 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 John. Okay. That's all it's about. Now, the authors walk us over to 314, and this is what they call three-valued logic. Okay. And three-valued logic is where I have one logical proposition linked to a second logical proposition by or, and linked to a third logical proposition or test linked by or again. Okay. Now, over on 314, he gives us three at the top of page 123. Has us use. We see that we have show the rows where the statement's true, where the statement's false, and where the statement is unknown. At the bottom page 121, we see the result we get where the statements are true, and then where the statements are false, and then where the statements are unknown. And so it has a three-valued logic. Each statement is either true, false, or unknown. Okay, and so the logic is the condition's true, the condition's false, the condition is unknown, and that's what they're talking about there on page 121, and that's why they give you these variations. And then over in 315, they talk about error messages. I wouldn't mess with that. But over on page 134, 316, exercise 1, they walk you through a task. This is the middle of page 124. List the employees who have last names starting with H through P. And they give us Oracle and Access at first attempt, which is incorrect. And then we get a second Oracle attempt that's incorrect, and a second Access incorrect attempt. Okay. And then over on page 126, they show us the correct result. And we want people who have the first name H through P. Now, we tried using the between H and P, and that's that first, the Oracle and Access. It's not correct. Okay. And it gives us a result table. And we don't have the last name. We get a first name and the last name. All right. And we just want the last names. And then if you come over, you're going to see on the Oracle, the second attempt that's incorrect. And the Access is second. So if you come over to the middle of page 26, you're going to see the correct one. And let's look at this for a minute. Now, they give us a note there. And what we do is we are getting the first name or last name is H or P. We start with the H, which is in a single quote. Okay. And then the PZZ, okay, is going to give us, and they not give us a note there. We stretch the range of the between condition with all words beginning with P. Then page 127, it shows you a fifth attempt, which is correct, where you put the H through P, like H through P, and then an asterisk in back of it. And we order the employees. And I want to show you this one. This is the fifth attempt and show what we're talking about. Notice right here, we're going to get like, quote, and then we put them inside a bracket, H through P, okay, and close the bracket, and then notice the wild card. And the sixth attempt is correct too. So you can see you got a different, with these correct approaches, you've got some different ways to go about this. And over on page 128, they give a second and a third attempt. And we walk through that. Now let's go over to exercise 318, exercise 3. Okay. And they show us this last solution. Okay. And okay. And we'll take a look at this for just a minute. And it gives us a solution we've not covered yet. Okay. And here we're going to select the employee ID, first name, last name, hire date from employees, where the year, okay, and we use the year function. The hire date is 2008. And what we've done is we used the year function. Hire date is within parentheses. Compartment, yeah. And we treated this as a function. It equals 208. We use up here in the we use and. So This will be 318. And the whole point is he wants us to see there are different paths that we can take. And a lot of times this is just simply, okay, create. This is just sometimes a matter of doing some work, because as we're starting to get these more complex, we'll run it. And there we get the correct data. Let's go into the design view and look at it. Look at the table, use that table. And we basically, he says, we did something we'll learn later on. There's something we did later on, okay, is, I'll go to the SQL view. Well, let's put it up because you see it easier here. Is this year hire date equals, what we did is we used the year function, okay, as applied to the hire date field, okay, and so we treated that like a number. And how we did that was we put the function year in front of it, then the opening parenthesis, then the column name, okay, hire underscore date. We closed it, and since we used the year function, we only got the year. We didn't get the rest of the date, but that's what we wanted. Okay, well, folks, that's pretty much it for chapter 3. You know, I'm going to go ahead and run. Well, we did that. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to save it as 3-18. And uses year function. And that'll do it. Okay, so we'll close those all out, and we've taken a trip through chapter 3, where we looked at compound conditions. All of these linked to the where clause. Parentheses, dealing with those, reinforcing the notion of SQL's three-pronged logical approach, which is, okay, a true, false, or unknown, which tends to work for just about everybody. And done some work in terms of dealing with dates, case sensitivities. And these are just some things as, and the use of brackets versus quotes. So not all too bad. So I'm going to close this off. Okay, and this is Lunch's database 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and upload it. And this way, in terms of, we'll be all caught up. I'll go to the desktop. And let me find where we are. Oh, my Excel file. SQL, there it is. SQL Fun 2007, Harmon Lunch's DB3. And I'll upload it over here. So we'll come down to Lunches. And you say, I've already tried these and just worked through them. Are you going to count off? No. All right, I'm not going to do that. And I want to come to SQL Fun. That's where I'm going to find it. And here they are. SQL Fun, Harmon DB1, SQL Fun, Harmon Lunches DB1, Harmon Lunches DB2, and SQL 2007 Harmon lunches DB3. And so we've seen these, we've discussed them, and this will be the patterns. We're going chapter by chapter, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll run queries, and you'll be able to see a result set and the table and all that business. Why you have to have the text with you. And so we worked with the compound conditions here in the where clause. Okay? And so these are uploaded, and these are what you'll use for a lunches database 1, 2, and 3. Now, just to finish off one more thing, just the syllabus, all right? Because we only meet on Thursday, first of all, you should have done 1, 2, 3, and 4 in terms of the Access workshop. You should have those uploaded. I provided a document that told you where they were. We used them in class, so that should be done. Okay? Now, lunches 1, 2, and 3. We've done those now, and you can upload them for credit because I'm going to start on 4. Okay? On March 8th. Or on March 1st, I'm going to start on 4. So we're always ahead. All right, so that'll pretty much do it. And I'll change these exam dates, exam 2 and exam 3. I had them for Monday the 26th. I'm going to change them back. Okay, I'm going to push them back towards Wednesday. Yeah, I'm going to move them back to 6 p.m. Wednesday. Okay, if you've already done them, you're fine. If not, you're going to get the same time limit, same number of items. Okay? All right, folks. Thank you so much. And I'll stop the share and stop the